Hello friends, welcome again. Now in this video, I will talk about how you can get your resume shortlisted through the ATS system. Now what is an ATS system? ATS system is Applicant Tracking System, which is kind of a software that most of the companies used or some companies use in order to shortlist candidates in and shortlist candidate out. What it means is, let's say a company receives 100 applications for a particular job. It would be very difficult for a human being to sift through 100 resumes or 100 applications. So what the company does is they move those applications or they give that application to a software. And then the software, using some criteria that are provided by the HR or the recruiter or the organization, decides which resumes are relevant for the job and should be shortlisted or moved to the recruiter for a proper review or a fair review, and which resumes can be just shortlisted out because they don't stand a chance. Now that particular criteria is decided by the organization, by the recruiter, and that criteria is for the most part already covered as part of the job description. So when you read a job description, you should be able to guess what the criteria would be that the recruiter has given to the software for it to decide which resumes would it move forward into the process of hiring and which resumes would it not move forward at all. I receive this question a lot where people who don't get a call from a recruiter at all when they apply online, they have this feeling or they have this understanding that their resume was not shortlisted by the ATS system. So I get this question a lot, which is, how can we make sure that our resume is strong enough that it can pass through or cross through the ATS system? So this is that particular video where I will answer this question. Now, before moving forward, I just wanted to share one stat with you. 76% of you who watch my videos on my channel do not subscribe to my channel. I would request and ask you as a favor that in case you find any value from this video, please do press the like button, as this keeps me motivated, and also press the subscribe button along with the bell icon so you get notified as soon as I put a new content on this channel. On this channel, I post content pertaining to financial success and career success for early and mid-career professionals. Other than that, if you want me to continue making unbiased content like this, you can support me on patreon.com. I will leave the link to my Patreon page in the description of this video. Now let's get rolling back into the video. Now, first and foremost, I will talk about the format, then I will talk about the content, and then some other bonus tips or suggestions. Now, starting with the format, make sure the format of the file that you're submitting online to the recruiter or to the organization is a format which is friendly for an ATS system to read. And usually these formats are either PDF format or Word format. Don't try to create any other file format which would be difficult or impossible for ATS system to recognize, let alone be able to crawl and read through it. So you need to make it very easy, very simple for the ATS system in order for it to read your resume. Second, make sure that you use very standard format. Don't make a fancy resume. Fancy resumes, by the way, even if there is no ATS system, it is very difficult for even a recruiter to read through, because if there is a resume which is very fancy, colorful designs and things flying here and there, it would be very difficult for the recruiter to sift through the information and see what the relevant information that they are looking for, because they are looking for certain things in the resume which should match the job description. But if those things are very difficult and hard to find just because they're all over the place in the resume, because you wanted the resume to look fancy, then it would be very difficult for the recruiter to read and it will make them frustrated, and the chances are they will not select your resume. Similarly, it also applies to the ATS system. Now, the ATS system is a software, it doesn't get frustrated. However, you still need to make the format friendly for the ATS system or the software to be able to read it. You need to make it readable, just like the file format should be something which the ATS system can read. The format or the design of the resume should be very standard, very simple, that the ATS system can easily read and sift through it, such as having clear headings, bullets, very clear and concise and constant format. Don't go like some bullets are bigger in size, some bullets are smaller in size, there is a graph here, there is a table here, and so on and so forth. Again, on the same lines, remove or avoid any graphs and tables in your resume. Just simple, plain English, which is written in very simple, concise, and standard and consistent format. Now, the idea here is that just by the looks of it, your resume should look boring. Similarly, make sure that the sections or the titles of the sections that you use are also very standard, like work experience, education, skills, your contact information, and that's it. Don't try to use any fancy or different headings, because essentially the ATS system has been given some prompts to look for in the resume, like work experience, education, skills, and so on and so forth. However, if the ATS system cannot locate where the skills are, cannot locate where education is, cannot locate where work experience is, just because the headings are written in a way which the ATS system doesn't find familiar. Hence, there is a big chance or a great chance that it will not be able to crawl or read through the resume, or not be able to find the relevant information that is required. And hence, your resume will not move forward, rather get shortlisted out. On the same lines of making the resume readable by the ATS software, avoid any headers, avoid any footnotes. Just avoid them. Just keep the format very simple and very standard. And last but not the least, make sure your resume is also concise. It's not just standard, it's not just simple, but it's also concise. By concise, I mean not long stories, rather very succinct, very concise descriptions that you have laid down in your resume. And for that matter, I strongly recommend that your resume should not be more than 1 page. If it is more than 1 page, trust me, no one will be reading your 2-page resume, let alone the ATS system. Now, ATS software might still be interested in reading the 2-page document because it is just a software which can read multiple documents. However, even if the ATS system shortlists your resume, and if it's a multi-page resume, it will be very difficult for the recruiter to read. I've been through this. I have sifted through many resumes, and as soon as I find a resume which is full of details and is multi-page resume, it is very difficult for me to read everything. So now I'm trying to look for the key information in those 2 or 3 pages which are provided to me. How about you just provide the same information that I'm looking for in that 1 page? So it's very easy for me to locate that information, versus some things are in page number 1, some things are in page number 2, and then I have to read and sift through multiple pages. Don't do that. So I strongly recommend make it 1 page. I know there are many recruiters out there who recommend or who strongly suggest to have 2-page resume at least. I don't see a point. You need to make it very simple and easy for the person who's reading the resume to be able to read your resume. Because if you have multiple pages, there's a good chance that, let's say in your career, you have like 5 top key highlights. Now, if I have to put those 5 top key highlights in 1 page, probably I will end up putting those top 5 key highlights in that 1 page along with 2 or 3 other highlights. But now if I have to fill a 2-page resume, I will have to put in like 10 or 12 key highlights. Finding 5 key highlights from 8 highlights is still relatively easy. But finding 5 key highlights out of 12 or 20 highlights is very difficult, or is relatively difficult. So make it very easy for the recruiter or the interviewer to only be able to see what is important. The rest is irrelevant. So all that extra information that you've put in there is not relevant. Your job is to make sure that whatever is relevant in the job description for the organization, for the recruiter, only that part is captured in the resume. Anything over and above is just adding pages for no use. And this takes me to the next part, which is talking about the content. Now, with regards to the content, the most important and the primary thing is to look in the job description for keywords. Keywords that are important for that particular job. These are actually skills and requirements that the job has. Let's say the job is requiring for someone who knows SAP. The job is requiring for someone who has leadership skills. The job is requiring for someone who knows Power BI. So there will be certain hard skills, and then there will be certain soft skills. Collaboration, being able to work in matrix organization. These would be all listed out in the job description. So every line you read of the job description, there would be 1 or 2 key words that you will find there. And there would be lines that are written where those keywords would be repeated. If there is a keyword that is being repeated, that means it is very important. So highlight all those keywords and now start looking in your resume and make sure that all those keywords are reflected in your resume. Your resume should be talking about some leadership project that you've done if leadership is written in the job description. Your resume should be mentioning SAP as a hard skill if the job description is requiring SAP. Your resume should mention attention to details if the job description is requiring attention to detail. Now here, make sure that you just don't throw keywords here and there. You need to put them in a flow. For instance, you need to put leadership in a way where you're talking about a project where you shared or where you showed leadership, or you're talking about a project where you were having high attention to detail and you were able to save company some money, or if there's a project where you were collaborative or had better communication which led to for XYZ savings in the company, and so on and so forth. So you need to make sure that whatever keyword you are putting in your resume, it comes in form of an achievement and not just saying, I am a leader, I am a good communicator. No, you have to put it in a particular format. Now, for that very purpose, what I've done is I've created a separate video where I talk about how to go about writing the content of the resume such that it comes across very strong when the recruiter is reading it. So please make sure you check out that video. I will leave the link to that video here. Now, on the same lines, also avoid keyword stuffing. Like, you don't want to mention leadership 100 times on your resume, maybe once, twice, thrice, and that's it. So make sure whatever keywords you are putting in your resume are kind of built in the structure of the resume and are not keyword stuffing. And that is why it is very important that you should start with having a resume that you think reflects your personal experiences. Then read the job description and check if there is anything that is missing in the resume which was mentioned in the job description. So you start with your resume first. This is my resume for an ideal job, the job that I'm suited for. Now you go read the job description and you find that there are certain keywords or certain skills which are mentioned in the job description, but you did not cover in your resume. Just go and fix them. Instead of changing the entire resume, just fix or add those particular keywords. That way you won't be keyword stuffing. You would rather have a good flow, the flow that really reflects your skills, and then tweaking here and there just to reflect anything that is missing. Now also make sure that you are plugging in very relevant information. For instance, if you speak multiple languages, and multiple languages are not really required for that particular job because it's a job which is you will be doing in an English speaking company, in an English speaking country, and there won't be any interaction with non-English speaker, then just adding another line of saying I speak these many languages has no relevancy. Just get rid of that line altogether. Your resume is a very important real estate, right? So you just don't want to stuff in information on the resume which is not relevant for two reasons. One, you may end up expanding more than one page, and second, you may end up making the interviewer or the recruiter read stuff which is not relevant and hence wasting their time. Next, also make sure you have a professional summary, a summary which is like not more than 2 or max 3 lines. It should just give a reflection of who you are. So for instance, my resume says I'm a leader in commercial finance because my resume is all about commercial finance. If you are all about search and display marketing, then you write, I have been doing display and search marketing for X number of years, and this is kind of my core expertise. So what you're trying to tell is who you are, who you stand for professionally. So it should not take more than 1 or 2 lines or max 3 lines for you to build that key summary. So make sure you put that in, and it should come soon after your name and your contact information. That should be this first line that the recruiter should be reading or the ATS software should be reading through. Another important tip when writing a resume is to make sure that you quantify your achievements and put a dollar number or a digit around it. For instance, I increased the sales by X percentage points, the shares increased by X percentage points, or I was able to save the company X number of dollars. Make sure you quantify. If you don't quantify, it is very difficult for the recruiter to really gauge whether this is all fluff or real. And those are the prompts that will also be given to the ATS software to look for solid achievements as against just fluffy words. Now continue to talk about the ATS system. Make sure that you don't use any jargons which the ATS system or the recruiter is not familiar with, and try to use full spellings. Just as an example, instead of writing MBA, which is Masters in Business Administration, write Masters in Business Administration. So don't leave any room for guessing or mistake that can be done by the ATS software or the recruiter. So don't use any jargons. Make sure you use full spellings. Similarly, on the same lines, make sure there are no spelling mistakes. So you don't want any important keyword or factor to be missed by the ATS software just because it is not spelled right. And also make sure you have right grammar. You can do simple spell and grammar check using the Word tool. So make sure you don't take yourself through that embarrassment where your resume has spelling mistakes or grammatical mistakes. Now here are the bonus tips. One is to make sure that you customize your resume every time you're applying for a different role, because each and every role that you would be applying for may have different job requirements, different skills, and the job description may be completely different altogether. So make sure that every time you're applying for a job, when you check the job description, you read the key skills that are being required, keywords, and make sure all those are reflected in your resume. Again, no overstuffing. And again, the idea is not to copy paste what is in the job description. Rather, you start with a good and healthy resume, then check the job description. If there is anything which is missing, then only add that part. Another important piece, which is while ATS system is important to hack, and while it is very important for you to hack the chances where the recruiter is reviewing your resume and shortlist your resume, there is another important and more powerful tool to pass your resume to the hiring manager desk. That is to find a contact in the organization which is trying to network. So look for anyone in the organization who you can relate to, drop them a cold email, cold message, and ask them to move your resume to the right desk or to the right individual. For this, I've made a separate video where I explain how you can go about finding that network, finding that individual in the company, how you relate to them, and what kind of message you should write to them so they respond to you, and hence move your resume to the right desk, pass the ATS software, pass the recruiter. Just simply directly to the decision maker or the hiring manager. And one more thing that you can do, coming back to the ATS system, is you can also test your resume, like pressure test your resume, whether everything that you've done in the resume, all the keywords that you reflected are the ones that job description is looking for. There are many softwares online where you can put your job description and your resume together, and it will kind of do a mix and match to see how healthy is your resume and is it reflecting all the requirements in the job description or not. It is just a test. I won't rely on it solely. I would just do it as last and end process, just to make sure, or just to disaster check or stress test my resume against the job description. Anyways, guys, thank you for watching this video. Hopefully this video was helpful for you to now create a resume which really gets you a call from the recruiter saying, we want to move you into the process next and call you for an interview. Now, in case you found this video helpful, I have another video on my channel where I talk about how you can go about introducing yourself in an interview. Most probably after clearing the ATS software, you will be asked and called for an interview. And the first question you are asked is, tell me about yourself. So here is a video, check it out, where I talk about how you introduce yourself. There is another video where I talk about what kind of questions you should be asking the interviewer as part of the reverse interview question, which is at the end when the interviewer says, do you have any questions for me? For that, I've made a special video. You can check it out here. Thank you.